Sometimes, responding to arrogance with intelligence is the most effective way to handle it. What happened when a liberal journalist tried to publicly humiliate Tiffany Trump at a prestigious gala? He thought it would be an easy takedown, but what he didn't expect was Baron Trump's quick wit and calm, confident response, one that completely stunned the room into silence. Stick around, because you won't want to miss this remarkable moment. The Washington, D.C. charity gala was in full swing that evening. The grand ballroom gleamed under the soft glow of chandeliers, with the low hum of lively conversation filling the air. Elite guests, draped in designer suits and sparkling gowns, sipped champagne and exchanged pleasantries. Among these distinguished attendees were Tiffany Trump and her younger brother, Baron. Tiffany, radiant as always in a sleek evening gown, smiled graciously as she chatted with event sponsors. Baron, now towering over most of the guests with his 6 feet 7 inches frame, stood nearby exuding his usual quiet confidence. Though he wasn't one for the limelight, he always had his sister's back. And tonight, his support would be needed more than ever. What they didn't know was that lurking in the crowd was Michael Reynolds, a journalist from the Daily Progressive, notorious for his aggressive tactics and anti-Trump rhetoric. He'd been eagerly waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Armed with a camera crew and a prepared list of loaded questions designed to stir controversy, he was ready to ambush Tiffany and create a viral sensation. His plan was simple: take down Tiffany Trump at a high-profile event, making it a headline that would read something like "Tiffany Trump exposed at charity gala." As Tiffany turned to speak with another guest, Reynolds saw his opening. He made his move with his signature smug grin, microphone in hand, and called out, "Miss Trump," loud enough to draw the attention of nearby guests. "Can I ask you a quick question about your family's role in social issues?" Tiffany, ever poised, gave a polite nod. Of course. Reynolds wasted no time, launching into his question with calculated precision. "Many believe your family's wealth gives you an unfair advantage in philanthropy. How do you respond to accusations that the Trump family uses charity events to boost its public image, rather than to actually help others?" A hush fell over the crowd, and Tiffany's smile flickered for just a moment before it was quickly replaced by her usual composure. But before she could respond, Baron stepped forward, his deep voice breaking the tense silence. With a calm and respectful tone, Baron addressed Reynolds. "With all due respect," he began, locking eyes with the journalist, "would you say the same thing about other philanthropists, or is it just the Trump name that concerns you?" Reynolds smirked, clearly thinking he still had the upper hand. "Well, your family is known for prioritizing wealth and business over social issues. Wouldn't you agree?" The crowd bristled, sensing a confrontation was about to unfold, but Baron stood unfazed. Rather than responding with anger, he reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone, and scrolled briefly. With a knowing look, he held up an article from the Daily Progressive itself, revealing how the Trump family had donated millions to children's hospitals and veterans programs. A low murmur of surprise rippled through the crowd. Baron continued, "You see, I believe philanthropy should be measured by its impact, not by the headlines it creates. Don't you agree?" Reynolds shifted uncomfortably, but pressed on. "But surely you understand the perception of privilege here?" Baron interrupted smoothly, his expression steady and unyielding. "Privilege is the opportunity to make a difference. What truly matters is how you choose to use it. My sister has worked tirelessly in law and charity, yet you focus on assumptions rather than facts." Flustered but determined, Reynolds tried to regain control. "Isn't it fair to say that your family's position gives you an advantage that ordinary Americans simply don't have?" Baron's eyes narrowed slightly as he responded, "And isn't it fair to say that every person has unique opportunities? It's their responsibility to use them wisely. My family chooses to use our platform to support causes we care deeply about." The crowd was now fully engaged, whispers circulating as they absorbed Baron's words. Sensing he was losing the battle, Reynolds attempted to shift the focus. "So, you're saying there's no privilege involved?" Baron remained composed, his tone unwavering. "I'm saying privilege is what you make of it. You can sit on the sidelines and criticize, or you can actually contribute to making a real difference." For a moment, Reynolds opened his mouth, But no words came out. He was stunned into silence. Tiffany, watching her brother, couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration. Barron had effortlessly turned the situation around, shutting down Reynolds' attack with intelligence and grace. The journalist's plan had spectacularly backfired. The cameras continued rolling, but instead of capturing a viral moment that would damage the Trump family, they were now documenting a calm, articulate Barron Trump standing firm in his beliefs. The room remained tense as all eyes were on Barron and Reynolds. The journalist, visibly flustered but still unwilling to concede, cleared his throat and tried again. "Well," he stammered, "some might argue that your family's wealth has shielded you from the realities most Americans face. Do you think the average person can really relate to your experiences?" Barron smiled, sensing the growing desperation in Reynolds' voice. "I believe that everyone faces challenges, but those challenges come in different forms. What matters is how we use those experiences to create positive change, regardless of our circumstances." The crowd nodded in agreement, visibly impressed by Barron's maturity and poised response to the journalist's increasingly desperate attempts. Barron Trump's ability to steer the conversation away from controversy and into a more meaningful discussion was nothing short of impressive. Standing by his side, Tiffany remained composed, but a proud smile tugged at her lips as she watched her brother dismantle the journalist's attack with ease. Desperate to regain control, Reynolds attempted a new tactic. "But isn't it fair to say your family has been involved in numerous controversies that overshadow any good deeds?" Reynolds pressed. Barron didn't even flinch. "Every public figure, especially those who aim to make a difference, faces criticism," he said, his voice steady. "But what truly matters is the impact of the work being done. Have you taken a look at the scholarship programs, the veteran support initiatives, or the millions of dollars donated to healthcare and education?" Reynolds opened his mouth to speak, but paused. Barron took the opportunity to continue without missing a beat. "You see," Barron said, holding up his phone once more, "facts are stubborn things. When you focus only on part of the picture, you end up misleading your audience." He pulled up a list of verified statistics from reputable sources, all detailing the Trump family's charitable contributions. "Have you thought about sharing this side of the story with your readers?" he asked, his voice calm but piercing. A soft murmur of approval rippled through the crowd, a few people nodding in agreement. Reynolds, now visibly flustered and realizing his attempt to humiliate Tiffany had failed, struggled to regain his footing. Sweating under the pressure, he attempted to change the subject. "This isn't about donations," he said, his tone defensive. "It's about influence and power." Barron gave a thoughtful nod. "Influence can be used for good or ill," he responded. "We choose to use ours to help others, to contribute, and to support meaningful causes. What about you, Mr. Reynolds? How do you use your influence?" Reynolds froze. The tables had now turned, and the once confident journalist was on the defensive, struggling to find a coherent reply. I report the news," he stammered. Barron leaned in slightly, his voice still calm, but now carrying undeniable weight. "Does reporting the news include presenting both sides fairly? Or just the side that gets more clicks?" A hush fell over the crowd. Reynolds, visibly cornered, fumbled with his microphone, his nervous chuckle betraying his discomfort. "Well, we all have a job to do," he muttered. Barron nodded with conviction. "Exactly. And I respect that. But with influence comes responsibility. Don't you think it's fair to ensure your audience gets the full picture, not just a one-sided narrative?" Reynolds, now on the back foot, became increasingly uncomfortable. The audience, once curious onlookers, was now firmly in Barron's corner, impressed by his poise and control of the situation. Tiffany, unable to hold back any longer, gently placed a hand on Barron's arm. "I think my brother has made an excellent point," she said with grace. "We welcome honest conversations, but fairness and respect should always come first." Reynolds, realizing he had lost control of the situation, forced a tight smile. "Thank you for your time," he said hastily before turning and disappearing into the crowd. As soon as the journalist walked away, the room erupted in applause. Several attendees approached Barron, shaking his hand and offering their congratulations on his composure. "That was impressive," one guest remarked. "You didn't just defend your sister. You stood up for truth." Tiffany smiled at her brother, proud of how he had handled the situation. "You always know exactly what to say," she said. Barron chuckled. "Sometimes the best way to respond to criticism is with facts, not emotion." That night, social media exploded with videos of the encounter. Hashtags like #Barron shuts them down and #FactsOverFiction were trending within hours. Even media outlets, typically critical of the Trump family, had to admit that Barron's calm and factual approach was admirable. On the other hand, Reynolds' attempted ambush backfired spectacularly. His network, once confident in the viral hit they expected, now found themselves facing backlash for biased reporting. An editorial piece later emerged, admitting, "We should have done more research before approaching Tiffany Trump." Barron Trump's measured response reminds us all of the importance of fair journalism. Humiliated and under growing scrutiny, Reynolds quietly took a leave of absence from his position. As the dust settled, Barron Trump's response at the gala became more than just a viral moment. It became a powerful lesson in composure, critical thinking, and the importance of standing up for the truth. Thank you for sticking around to the end. This story reminds us all that intelligence and grace can prevail, even in the face of biased attacks. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring content. See you in the next one.